obviously, Bernie Sanders is about to give a big speech on democratic socialism today. Do you consider yourself a democratic socialist?
I do. I consider myself a socialist. I believe in democratic processes as a means of helping advance socialism. So yes, I do.
Fantastic. And so the policy, Bernie's released a little bit of his speech already, and we know that he's going to try to follow up on FDR's New Deal and making sure that we have economic fairness in this country with affordable housing or guaranteed housing, health care, job security, things like that. How would that change our country if we actually were able to achieve those things?
I think if Bernie were able to advance a lot of the items on his agenda, I think people, well, first of all, there would be less poverty, and that's, first of all, first, second, and third of all, there would be less poverty, and the second order effects of that would be pretty huge. In addition to just relieving material deprivation, I think you'd start to see people grow in confidence and feel less afraid to challenge people in their lives, their bosses, their managers. People would be less afraid of suffering the negative consequences of organizing the workplace, and people would just be less desperate to rent out their labor to people. I think that it would lead to everyday people just having a lot more control over their own lives and a lot more comfort.
Absolutely. And Donald Trump likes to talk a lot about how the economy is booming, but then the question is, booming for who? Is it booming for you?
Me personally, no. I feel fortunate. I'm from a family, that I did not grow up with really any kind of struggle, but the vast majority of stock in this country is owned by a small number of people, 10% of the country, and when Trump brags about the stock market going up, that means not a lot for a whole bunch of people, and unemployment is low right now, but we all know that it's not going to last forever. And especially when you have this attitude that lets the big banks do whatever they want and encourages a casino stock market, we know that there's going to be a downturn at some point, and it's going to be nasty. And that whatever benefits workers are seeing right now, they're obviously very limited and very fleeting. So I don't think people are really feeling this. They don't have the same feeling that Donald Trump would like them to have when he talks about how well the economy is doing.
Right. And people seem to shy away from the term democratic socialism. How do you think we get around that, and how does Bernie get around that? The fear of the word socialism.
Well, I think that even on the left, there's a lot of disagreement about what it is socialism means, and I think that now that the Cold War is over, a lot of critics of socialism have fewer fear-mongering tactics to rely on. I think that the more that Bernie gets out and campaigns with people and gets his message out without a filter, he will be able to win people over, I think. It's not a coincidence that socialism is more popular now, 4 decades into the neoliberal consensus. People know the system isn't working. And Bernie is really the only major candidate who is articulating a systemic approach to this, and I think that once Bernie gets that message out and repeats that message on the campaign trail and says it without a cable news filter, that it will really get through. And especially amongst younger people, you see socialism is wildly popular. And I think it'll be hard for the fearmongers to overcome that. I hope so, at least.
If he's able to enact those policies, guaranteed health care, guaranteed education, housing, job security, how would that personally impact you or those you love?
I think that I would see fewer people stressed. I would see fewer people sort of panicking over crowdfunding to try to pay their medical bills. I think it would make everyone's life a lot easier, really. But that's about it.
Yeah.
That's a lot, but it's simple, but it's a lot. And I think he will have if he got elected, I think he'd have a very tough time enacting a lot of the agenda. I think a lot of people would need to stay plugged in until 2022 when the Senate map is more favorable to the left, because if Bernie gets elected and Mitch McConnell is still Senate Majority Leader, we all know nothing's getting done. But in 2022, there will be more of a chance, I think, for Bernie to enact some of the things he's talking about. I think that's important to remember, and so people don't get discouraged if he does get elected and we don't have these things happen right away.
I would not call myself a Democratic Socialist. I guess I'm Democratic Socialist curious at this point, just trying to learn more.
Very interesting. So you're kind of here to explore Bernie's policies and see what he's up to. He did release a little bit of his speech so far, and saying that he wants to talk about the right for people to have health care, education, livable housing, things like that. Do you support those kinds of policies?
I mean, I absolutely support those policies. I think a lot of candidates support them too, so I'm just here to learn more.
If those policies were able to be enacted, if Bernie or whoever is elected is able to kind of follow through on FDR's New Deal, which is what Bernie's goal seems to be, how do you think that would change America?
I mean, it would be amazing. It would be, taking us out of these dark ages we've entered and maybe taking us back towards the light, if it works.
Yeah, and that's the thing. A lot of people wonder if it will work. And a lot of people do have problems with the term democratic socialism itself. And then Bernie would bring up, well, we've given bailouts, trillion-dollar bailouts from the Treasury to Wall Street in 2008 and all that, and that's a form of socialism. So do you think the country can be moved to kind of embrace that term, even though it's scary for people?
I do think it's a risky term. I think it's going to have trouble playing in middle America. We'll just have to wait and see what happens, I guess.
Okay, so if those policies were enacted that you agree with, the college, the health care, the job security, how would that impact you personally or those you love?
It would give me a lot more security, that people around me would have a safety net and everyone would have sort of a basic level of human decency, of health care and support. That it would just make it, it just seems like it would be more equitable and honestly more in line with true American values as opposed to what we've got right now.
I thought he was really wonderful. He not only had a platform, but he aroused people to do something. So he's very articulate and he knows what he's talking about.
There were some really big applause moments, especially when he pulled quotes from FDR and Martin Luther King Jr. And I think those things resonate over time with the American people, that we should have freedom, economic freedom. How do you think that the American public will look at the things that he says about having the right to a living wage, having the right to health care, having the right to education?
I think it depends on who they are. I think a lot of people who are workers and who are not making it very well would be really happy about it. I think some middle-class people will not be, some upper middle-class people, because they're really kind of on the verge of being part of the wealthy, and they're therefore in a dangerous position, they feel unconsciously, and so they may not support it, but I think mostly everyone else will.
If Bernie were able to enact his policies and become president, how would that impact your life personally or the lives of those you love?
I would stop being angry all the time, for one thing. I'd be happy. Um, well, I think that we all need the programs. Healthcare for all is enormously important. In fact, everything you talked about is enormously important. And I'm not in the class of workers who need, who needs $15 an hour, but that would be phenomenal for everyone who does. It would be amazing. Yeah.
And what about those people who shy away from the term Democratic Socialism? What would you say to them?
I would tell them that I'm a lifelong Democratic Socialist, and we probably believe in a lot of the same things, and then I discuss it with them.
Hope you enjoyed that last video. Hop on over to statuscoup.com where you can sign up for our email list and become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. Membership is how we grow. That's statuscoup.com/join. And remember, join our email list so we can grow the revolution with you.